All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to phase three of our nutrition class. What we've discussed so far is understanding the different food groups and how to understand portion sizes and create meals around just the food groups without logging. Then we've gone into understanding calories and the benefits that tracking our calories does for us, that understanding of what does my body need in order to fuel itself for what it is about to do or what it has already done and giving yourself enough energy to be able to perform these tasks. Now, we're going into biofeedback as our next portion to understand why our calories and why our macros that we're going to get into next are so specific to us because our body has a way of telling us exactly what it needs at different points in time. And we pay attention to these different factors within our body to know when it's time to adjust, whether that's work your calories or macros up or going ahead and working them down. So let's go ahead and dive into it. First, it's understanding what exactly is our biofeedback. Our biofeedback is always going to be our sleep, hunger, recovery, energy, digestion, and stress, otherwise known as shreds. We check in with ourselves either daily, weekly, or sometimes for a few of these, even hourly, understanding how what we're eating is affecting us. We're going to go ahead and spend some time going over every single component here, starting off with sleep. For sleep, we take a look at the following factors. Number one, what is your quality of sleep? Are you sleeping throughout the entire night? Are you finding that it's hard to fall asleep and stay asleep? We also take a look at your duration. Are you sleeping for 4 hours? Are you sleeping for 7 hours? Maybe it's even longer. That also tells us something. Your consistency with your sleep plays a factor too. The goal is to try and go to sleep, stay asleep at the same time every single day and having the same amount of sleep every single time. Now, when we are noticing that there are either issues with sleep, the solutions that are holistic approaches that we can utilize are number one, your meals before bed. We remember that it is okay to eat before bed. Your body doesn't just turn off, it is going to continue to burn, it is going to continue to utilize whatever you have put in your body because energy systems are still at play. Now, with meals before bed, if you are finding that you're not able to sleep throughout the night, it might be that you're not eating enough before bed. So you're hungry throughout the night and that's keeping you awake. Or it could be that your meals are too big before bed and that's keeping you awake. The next one is hydration before bed. Yes, it's understandable that you're going to continue to drink water, but we want to stop drinking water maybe about 30 minutes to an hour before bed so that we're not waking up to use the bathroom in the middle of the night. While that might still happen, especially if you're drinking so much, it's another factor that we can utilize if you're experiencing issues with your sleep. Now, we discussed a little bit meals before bed that we should be eating before bed to help out with that muscle glycogen replenishment as well as that protein synthesis and helping our bodies to recover and allowing us to sleep. But we might need to adjust the calories, making your meals a little bit bigger or making your meals a little bit smaller. This is another point in time too, where we can also look at the quality of the meal as well. Is it something that is low GI, which should help you to sleep? Or are you consuming a lot of sugar before bed, things that are very high in GI, things that break down very quickly, and that will definitely end up disrupting your sleep. So having more things that are holistic, that break down slower are what we want to focus on before bed. We can also take up talk about if you're finding that you are very irritable before you go to bed, we can also take a look at in decreasing your workout intensity. A lot of times, if you're overtraining, it can have adverse side effects on your sleep, and you may find that you're restless. We can also, if you're finding that it's hard to sleep, it could be that we actually need to increase the amount of exercise that you're doing in some situations. It could also be just trying to change your energy expenditure throughout the day through step counts and cardio. So that's another solution that we can have, getting more steps outside and increasing the amount of steps that we're taking throughout the day. Another one is your caffeine intake. Consuming copious amounts of caffeine, and even if we're abusing caffeine, can tell us a couple of things about our bodies. But in terms of sleep, we want to limit ourselves to the amount of caffeine that we're consuming about 5, maybe 6 hours before bed, even, which is, I know, a very large window, but usually the cutoff time I would recommend is stopping at about 5 p.m. In terms of your screen time, it's wild to think that blue light plays an effect into your sleep quality. Time on your laptops, time on your phone before bed. The goal here would be to try and turn off all devices 30 minutes to an hour before bed. And then lastly, after we've tried to go with holistic approaches and we've gone the route of food, the last thing that we would do is supplementation. And you'll notice in all of these slides that supplementation is going to be the last thing that we do because it is meant to supplement what you're not doing, not replace it. So if we notice that all of these different tools are not working, then we can go on supplements. It's not going to be the first route that we take. Now, in terms of sleep, a couple of other things. We have meals where it's focusing on a low GI. We can go with smaller meals so they don't disrupt your sleep. And then we can limit your caffeine and water consumption before bed. For your routine, we would want to limit your exposure to blue light or you have the use of blue light glasses. We can also take a look at your winding down routine. So, creating that way to soothe yourself, whether that be to have a self care routine, a skincare routine, some journaling, meditation, yoga before bed. We can have a use of increasing step count or trying to get steps in after each meal. And even just time outside will be able to help out with your sleep. Supplements that have been shown to have more effect on restful sleep is yes, we can throw melatonin into the mix, but our bodies adapt to melatonin. So it's something that we can use, but something we shouldn't rely on. Other supplements that have an effect would be ashwagandha before bed, vitamin D, fish oil, and then magnesium glycinate has also been shown to have more restful effects on the body. We would also wanna continue to focus on the same sleep schedule and getting to 7 to 9 hours a night. Now, our next one are our different hunger cues. Our hunger cues throughout the day can give us an idea of whether we are eating too much or eating too little. The first one is that we wanna focus on having low GI foods in the morning and at night, things that are going to break down slower for our bodies. We can also, if we're finding that we're getting a lot, and the reason why we have that is because it's going to keep our blood sugars level, it's going to keep our mood level, it's going to avoid brain fog, and it's going to carry us over into lunch. And then the same thing with nighttime, it's going to help us to be able to sleep. It's going to help our bodies to recover. When we increase the amount of food at each meal, can be another way that we help out with hunger cues. When we increase at each meal, it doesn't have to be adding on another meal or changing your meal. It's just changing the portion sizes. We remember back from video one that we saw that there are recommendations for each food group size and then recommendations for how frequently you're eating that. And we would just then change the number to having more servings of those different food groups. We can also go ahead and change the quality of the food. There's more that can be there's gonna be better and denser options. So something like pasta would be maybe like this big for their carbohydrates. But if we were to switch that up to, let's say, potatoes, it would be like this big for the same exact amount of carbohydrates. So that's where the density of meals would come into play of swapping out the foods and having something that's more wholesome. Another one with hunger is that if we're having a lot of processed foods, they traditionally break down very quickly and don't keep us full for an extended period of time. So we can avoid those processed foods in order to help out with those hunger cues. Another one as well is traditionally with most people we see that eating every 3 to 4 hours is going to help out with your hunger, help out with your blood sugar levels, and help you to stay fuller longer. Whereas if we eat breakfast and then we don't eat again for another 6 hours, and then we don't eat again until nighttime, we find that we're getting more hunger cues, and it's harder to stop from picking at random things throughout the day. And it's better to have more of those meals spaced out throughout the day. We can also go ahead and change out the balance of those meals as well. For example, if your breakfast is 300 calories, your lunch is 200 calories, and then your dinner is like 700 calories, while that would most likely end up being severely under eating and we would increase your calories altogether, what we would end up doing is balancing out each meal so they're around the same amount of calories throughout the day. The next biofeedback we'll talk about is going to be recovery. How your recovery is plays a lot into, are you eating enough in your meal timing as well, in addition to your carbs and your proteins. The first thing for recovery is we take a look at your muscle soreness. If you are sore for longer than 2 days, traditionally we would want to increase your food before and after a workout, and we want to increase your carbohydrates and your protein to help out with your muscle glycogen and protein synthesis. But it could also be that you just need more food throughout the day because more research is showing that it's not just about the protein after a meal or after a workout that's going to help out with your recovery, but how much protein that you're consuming throughout the entire day, which is why we would take a look at, well, how much protein are you having throughout the day? And then trying to make it more balanced and then increasing the protein before and after a workout, in addition to your carbohydrates before and after a workout. We can also take a look at your recovery in terms of joint aches and pains. If you find that you're getting hurt a lot, or if you're experiencing a lot of injuries while you're exercising, well, yes, we can take a look at your form and we can take a look at your training protocol. We can also take a look and see if you've been in a deficit for an extended period of time. And that's how we know it's time to work your food up. Sluggishness will also tell us, especially at different points of the day, if you're eating enough food throughout the day as well. So if you're finding that you're incredibly sluggish during your workout, then we would know that we either need to change the meal timing, or we might need to work your pre-workout meal up, or change the quality of your pre-workout meal. We can also take a look at your brain fog. Let's say that you're experiencing crashes around, 3 p.m. We would then immediately take a look at when you were eating lunch and what were you eating for lunch, and either making your lunch bigger or adding in a snack. Your sleep disruption will also tell us a little bit more about the amount of food that you're consuming and your energy levels throughout the day, which will be bringing us into our next topic of energy. But I would like to note here that in terms of recovery, yes, we can always utilize supplements such as branched chain amino acids, creatine. We can also look at protein powders, but food is always the answer as the first solution. We could take a look at what you're eating before and after a workout and what you're eating throughout the day. And after we continue to make those changes, if you're still experiencing muscle soreness, yes, we can go ahead and take a look at what your training protocol is. But then we can say, okay, it's time to add in a supplement. This may help you with what you're experiencing. So, energy levels can change throughout the day, and at different points in time can tell us what we need to adjust in terms of your food and your calories. We take a look at, how are you when you wake up in the morning? How are you before you go to bed at night? Are you experiencing real sluggishness during your workout? And we take a look at, do you have a mid afternoon crash? For this, we can adjust the meal sizes. We can have more low GI foods, low glycemic index. We can look at how we are distributing your calories and making some meals bigger, some meals smaller. We can also take a look at too here, what are your cortisol levels like, which are normally shown through blood work or also based off of biofeedback. But blood work is going to be the best way to be able to tell if your cortisol levels are elevated. And we can also suspect adrenal fatigue here, especially if you are relying very heavily on caffeine intake throughout the day. So these are different signs. If food isn't solving the problem and the quality of food isn't solving the problem and the adjustment in the calories, These are some underlying layers that may be playing an effect in your energy levels. In addition to, we can add sleep into the mix as well, or recovery into the mix, because these all very much tied together. But these are an underlying layer that supplements can help to solve. Now, we're going to be doing an entire video solely on digestion and gut health because there are so many factors that go into digestion. What we're going to talk about specifically here are your first and foremost, most holistic approaches. The first one when it comes to digestion is we look at your consistency with the pain that you're experiencing with digestion. Is it happening after one certain meal? Is it happening every single day? What is the cause of it? We then take a look at bloating. Same thing. Are you bloating after every single meal, or is it just one meal, or is it different times of the day that you're bloating? GI distress. Are you cramping? Are you going to the bathroom very frequently? Are you not going enough? This is where constipation and incontinence come into play because the type of digestion issues that are happening can tell us where the problem is happening along the digestive route. We can also take a look at the abuse of using, those different antacids, because that can make the problem worse if we're using it very frequently. Yes, we can take a look at your caffeine intake. I also want to add in here that we can take a look at your artificial sweetener intake because you can get severe bloating from a lot of artificial sweeteners very frequently. So we would take a look at, how much of that is being consumed throughout the day because that can cause more bloating and a lot of GI issues. We would also take a look at your water intake and working that up. We would take a look at your fiber, making sure that not only are you getting enough, but is there a balance between soluble and insoluble fiber coming from grains, coming from fruits, and coming from vegetables. Now, gut health issues can happen in your mouth, your stomach, the small and the large intestine. We always take a look first. What is the issue? What are you doing? What is the biofeedback telling us? And then we take the approach. We do not just automatically go to a supplement. Try and solve it with food first, through holistic approaches, see what the issues are, and then treat it with supplements. These are the different approaches that we can use almost immediately based off of someone's digestion issues. Traditionally, when working with clients, if they are experiencing severe GI issues, I will have them keep a food log and a food journal, journaling how their body responds to each meal. And from there, we talk about meal timing, eating too far apart or too close together, or grazing throughout the day. We talk about the meal size, because sometimes a meal is too big, or the portion size of protein is too big, or we need to make adjustments with the macros and make adjustments with the calories. We also take a look at where the fiber is coming from and creating more balance with the fiber. Other things that we can do for holistic approaches. Number one, taking walks after meals does help with digestion. Even if it's a 5 to 10 minute walk, that's going to help out with the digestion and absorption of the meal. As funny enough as it is, it can be as simple as eating slower. If you are shoveling food into your mouth, that can cause digestion issues. Slow things down, enjoy your food. We can also take a look at if any foods are causing irritation to your body, and that's where the elimination diet would come in. And there's different foods that have less gas created within the body. We can adjust your macros, meaning we can work your carbs down. Maybe we need to work your protein down. Maybe we need to have smaller protein sizes in each meal, but also it can be the other way too. We learn by doing. We could go with the quality of your foods, making sure that it's not incredibly processed. We also see more benefits to having more organic food in this situation as well. And this is where we have the food journal to get an idea of what might be causing triggers, where the issues are arising. Is it everything that's causing it? Is it just, or is it one certain meal or one certain food that's causing it? And then from there, we would go to supplements. What you're seeing right now with supplements is the most common solutions that we see, but do not try and treat it yourself. Always speak to a doctor first about what your digestion issues are after you've tried it with making those corrections with food. So you think food, then doctor, then supplements. So these are some ones that can help with digestion once you know what the root cause of it is and food itself is not helping. The last one that we talk about is stress. What I want to point out here is that a lot of people cannot change the stress in their lives from work. In return, we try and mitigate the effects of stress on the body through food, recovery, and when needed, supplementation. Some signs that you are under a lot of stress are number one, bloating after every single meal. We take a look at your energy levels and if you're incredibly sore for an extended period of time. We look at your irritability and your mood, your sleep, and then caffeine dependency. These are all signs that you may have elevated cortisol levels and have extreme effects of stress on your body. We may not be able to take the stress out of your life, but in return, we might need to work your food down to try and avoid metabolic stress. We might need to work your food up to give you more energy for recovery and to help out with inflammation that your body is experiencing. We may need to adjust your training protocol. It could be that you need more rest days, that you have increased your intensity too much too soon. It could also be that your lack of sleep is causing it as well. And so we would need to fix sleep in order to help with stress. And then we can also talk about that work life balance and different holistic approaches to trying to mitigate the stress within your life, such as going outside for a walk, getting vitamin D and going outside, supplementing with vitamin D. Time exposure outside in nature, in sunlight, helps out with the effects of stress. We can also go into mindfulness and meditation, whether that's through an app, whether that's through journaling, maybe you're reading books. You just have time for yourself, for you to unwind and decompress. When it comes to stress, too, we really want to focus on the quality of food. The more holistic it is, the better its effect it's going to have on your stress. It's going to reduce the inflammation. It's going to sit better within your body. It's going to keep your mood level, your blood sugar level. So we focus on those more holistic, natural foods. We focus on your routines, making sure that your workouts are in a right spot so you're not overtraining. We make sure that we have a self-care routine for you to be able to focus on yourself and that your sleep is consistent too to be able to help you with your stress levels. In terms of your exercise, yes, we can end up making macro adjustments for you. We can make workout adjustments and increase your recovery days. And then last but not least, we have supplements that can help with the effects of stress. These are just the most natural. These are just the first stop. You can always change things, adjust things from here, but this is where we would start is ashwagandha, magnesium glycinate and citrate will help with it, vitamin D and fish oil. So, as you can see from this presentation, there are so many factors that go into working your calories up and working your calories down, as well as the calories that we're eating at each meal and the portion sizes. The biggest thing is listening to your body. What is it telling you at different times of the day? And then adjusting it from there. I hope this helps you to get a better idea of what your body is experiencing so that way you can provide the right fuel to yourself. Thank you. Mhm.